Hey, today we're talking FPL chips, and Jack specifically, new FPL chips.
That's right, Josh. Today we're going to present to each other and to you three suggestions each for some new chips that FPL could think about introducing to mix it up.
Yeah.
So,
And this is you listening and watching, and you FPL towers. So tune in and use these chips, please.
please use them. Please use them. So, Josh, should we do it like we had a great time in the last video we did, which was just new ideas for FPL. So we're honing it in for chips, and it worked quite well. You say one, then I say one. We go that way, do one each, and then we just tear apart each other's ideas.
I was going to say tear apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Going to be fun. So you go first, Josh. What is your first FPL chip suggestion for us?
So my first one is I've called it eggs in 4 baskets rather than
Catchy.
It's not catchy at all. Ignore the name. But the idea is you select 4 players from your squad, and those 4 players, you're only allowed to play those 4. You only get points for those 4 in that game week, but those 4 players get triple points.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's the description. I'll let you chime in now.
Okay, so let's some questions on that then.
Mm-hmm.
So your other players are they are inactive for the week,
Inactive.
including subs.
Including subs, yeah, you've just got those 4. And I know, so the point where you're coming now is what if they don't start?
Or play.
Yeah.
What happens there?
I'm thinking I want to be harsh and just say those 4, because triple is quite a lot, I'm thinking.
So essentially they're all triple captained.
Yeah.
Right. And do you have a captaincy as well on top of that or not?
No. Triple points.
So it's 4 players, triple the points for the 4. Mm-hmm. So essentially you have 4, 8, 12. So interestingly, and have you done this on purpose, you have 12 players playing like you would in a normal week with a captain.
Yeah, well, it was roughly to be the same as you'd have playing in a normal week.
It is the same, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I didn't take into account the captain, so you've gone a little bit further than me.
Wow.
But yeah, it's basically saying it's not a massive advantage. So it's not just a kind of chip where you're having a massive upside.
Yeah.
It is a bit of a risk. And the benefit in this is you're getting to choose 4 particular players that you're hoping are going to do really well. So
I like it, yeah.
the output won't be huge. So you're not going to get people that are going to get like 200 points, for example.
I mean, it might be huge. I was about to eat a crisp, but I shouldn't because we're doing a video. So the output might be huge, though, because your 4 could be Salah, KDB, Kane and Trent. And you'd have 3 of each of them, which is way better than not. But that's a good use of the chip, I guess.
Exactly, and that's what makes me think that you shouldn't have subs coming in and you shouldn't have a captaincy on top. It should just be the case that you get those 4, you get to pick who they are. They're most likely going to be, high-scoring players, consistent players for good teams. So they should be high-scoring, and therefore that's enough. Picking those 4 and getting triple points for those 4 is enough.
Yeah, I think I like it. I think I quite like it. Yeah. We'll need to work on the name.
Yeah, name.
Eggs in 4 baskets.
Name.
Yeah, we'll think of
Fantastic
name.
4.
That's better already. Already that's better.
Yes.
But yeah, I like it.
Lovely.
I like it.
Good start. Didn't rip it apart.
Yeah, no, it was right. Okay, over to my next one. My first one. Mm-hmm. Okay, I call this 11 Heaven.
That's good, actually.
Okay, so the name's all right.
Yeah.
But actually, this does touch on an idea we did float in our previous video. So I tell a lie, there is some overlap. But this is when all 15 of your players can be picked from the same team for 1 game week. So it works like a free hit in that you play the chip, you pick a fresh 11, but they all have to be from 1 team for that week. So if Man City are playing Norwich, you just pick the 15 Man City players you think are going to play. And then it works like a normal team. So you still have to get the first 11 right, and the subs right, and they're all from 1 team. So it was quite fun. And that's all there is to it. And the next week, it just reverts back to what your team was before.
Okay, so a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So the additional players, like the what makes it up to 15, is if you don't get a starter, then one of those jumps in like a normal sub.
Yeah, if you've put Bernardo Silva on the bench, and picked 11 City players to start,
then he comes
and
in.
one of them doesn't start and he plays, he'll come in. Yeah.
Lovely. And captaincy?
Captain's the same as ever. So
Nice.
you captain one of the 11 you pick and vice the other one.
So
It's a free hit, but you have to pick all players from one team.
Like a Hail Mary.
So maybe it's too... It is Hail Mary-ish, yeah. So maybe it's too similar to the free hit, and that it is just a free hit, but just one team restriction. So maybe it's a bit too similar, but be quite interesting.
I was a fan of this in our last video of being able to throw it all in for one team for 1 week.
It'd be wild, wouldn't it?
So I'm also going to say I continue to like it for consistency, obviously.
I was inspired by a suggestion I saw on Reddit not long ago called the Kyle Walker chip, where all your players become Kyle Walker. So no matter how Kyle Walker does, you've got 11 Kyle Walkers. So I like that. But this is a bit more realistic, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I like the idea as well of someone like last year just going with a team of Burnley players.
Yeah, like you get
just for kicks.
madmen doing that when you're like teams you support.
Mass differential.
Like Villa playing in Norwich, I'd be very tempted to get the Villa team in, even though it would be stupid.
Yeah, I think it's a fun one.
Yeah, but I don't know how well you do because you obviously can't have Salah, KDB, Kane. You'd have to have KDB, Grealish, Mahrez, who are less good than Kane and Salah. So actually, it might not be a great chip to play ever. So maybe that's a problem with it.
It's quite high risk. It's quite, as we know, if you try and guess, if you've done any of the kind of like fixture result predictions for one given game week in like the Premier League, it's so hard to actually predict with like one result.
Yeah,
so,
you might get the day that Crystal Palace beat City.
Yeah. But then the flip side of that is there were periods of this year where City just destroyed teams, didn't they? By a lot of goals, and you'd had the clean sheet for all of your back four and all of the goals for all the other players. So it's fun, high risk. I like it.
I'd be interested to see if you'd played this chip in seasons gone by, if it would do better than, say you played it in a double game week where City had a good fixture, or Liverpool did, if you'd have done better than if you played your bench boost in that double game week and picked players from all the fixtures. So there you go. But we don't have those stats, so let's move on, Josh, to your next chip.
My next one. So my next one's called Winners and Losers, and this is just where you have your existing team, no changes to it there. You don't change any of the lineup. But winning players get double points and losing players get half points. So, yeah, I mean, self-explanatory. If the player that you've got is in the winning team for that week, boom, chow, double. But if they lose, then you're getting half points.
Good. So what I like is that it actually brings in winning and losing as a team into FPL, which it isn't at the moment, is it? There's no... I think winning goal counts in the bonus points, and that's the only like reference in the game to has the team won or lost.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of bringing in winning and losing into it. So I like that. Only problem / question is, how do you half the points if a player gets 3 points? Because you can't give a 0.5 of a point.
That's a good point. I mean, I would be harsh in this scenario and round down.
Round down. They've lost, so they deserve a round down.
Round them down.
They deserve a round down.
But
interesting.
Yeah, that was a good point, one I hadn't thought of. But I think, I like the idea of linking it a little bit more to, as you said, some real term winning and losing for teams. But yeah, and you can get some serious upside. So if you captain someone for that week who's going to smash it and they win as well, double bonus.
Yeah, it'd be great if you pick a team of winners. Yeah. That's great. I think we'd have to work on the halving. I'm thinking, is there a better punishment for the halving?
0 points.
Maybe 0.
Harsh. So
maybe it is 0 if they lose.
Imagine if they bang
0
if they,
how about 0 if they lose? Normal FPL points if they draw, and double if they win.
Ooh.
Maybe that could work. Maybe that could work. But it is a harsh.
Yeah.
It is harsh.
Imagine if they lose like
everybody.
5-4.
I mean, that's a risky one. What I like about your chip so far is they've been risky. So you could potentially mess up with a chip. Yeah. So what I've found before is when people talk about chip ideas, it's often that there could be no downside to a chip. So like a popular one is pick it automatically picks your best 11 out of that week, or it automatically switches to the higher captain out of your vice and captain. And there's no downside to that. Whereas with the chips that are in play currently, like you could wildcard in a terrible team, you could free hit a bad team, your triple on the bench could have a shocker, triple captain could have a shocker, get negative points. And your suggestions have been in the same spirit of that, like this one, where you could have a stinker if Man City lose or Liverpool lose that week, which is good.
There's got to be some level of skill involved, isn't there?
I think so.
Or like strategy.
Or jeopardy, yeah. Potential jeopardy if you play the chip poorly.
Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point? What was the point?
What's the point? Good. Yeah, good one. Best one so far.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
I like that.
What's your second one as well?
Saying all that I've just said, there is no downside to this one. So I called it the double positive chip.
Oh.
And this is when points from yellow cards, red cards, own goals, and goals conceded, etc. So any negative points are added to your score instead of deducted. So you'd be encouraged to pick teams that concede a lot of yellows, score own goals. Obviously, you can't predict these things.
Yeah.
But basically, it's like a week where the negatives turn positive.
On top of the positives?
On top of the positive. So maybe a better enhancement of this would be somehow switching the negatives to the positives and the positives to the negatives. But I don't know how you do that without...
It's tough, isn't it? Because it's heavily weighted towards positive
points. It is. So yeah, I don't like this one as much now I've read it back. But it'd be interesting. I like the idea of flipping a rule for a week, which isn't done at the moment with chips so much.
So what happens with the goals then? So obviously a clean sheet bonus, and they don't lose that particularly. Well, they can if they get to 60 minutes and they have it, and then suddenly the other team score.
Yeah, do they keep it?
Do they have like +4 from a defender?
I don't think they do because it's only those aren't negative points. They just haven't got the positive from the clean sheet, but they do get negatives when. So weirdly, you'd be rooting for your defenders to concede more. If they lose a clean sheet, you want them to concede more because the negative points then stack up, don't they? So it'd be a bit weird. So yeah, I don't like that one. It's a silly one.
I like the premise of you're rooting for something that you wouldn't normally ever root for, which is quite fun for one game week to be like, oh, yellow card, great, red card, love it.
It's horrible, isn't it? Yeah. That's that one. Talk to me about your next one.
This one's probably the simplest for me. It's double bonus, I call it. So just for one game week. Again, your normal team, you're not messing with your team that you've got, but bonus points are doubled. So
for your whole team?
Yeah, for the whole team. So the 1, 2, 3, if they're getting bonus points for that game week, they're just all doubled. So yeah, you're hoping that you guys will return in some mass, mucho mass, some bonus points.
I'm trying to think how many bonus points I get in a week on average.
It's not that much.
It's not as much as I would like.
It's not like a game-changing chip by any means.
No.
It's more... I think it's probably a bit of a fun one because you can't really... You're probably picking players that you want to get bonus points anyway. So it's just a kind of like...
It's an enhancer. Give me some more points. If you've got a good set of fixtures that week, let's double these bonuses. Yeah, simple.
It's not jazzy.
Again, it'd be interesting to know how powerful it would be in a given week. Like, I'd like to see my most bonus week. That makes sense. My highest week for bonus points, what was it?
That would be double points.
Like, is it... I couldn't even guess. Like, is it 10? Is it 30? Like, I mean, it can't be 30 because that would be every player getting 3 bonus, wouldn't it? Yeah. I wonder what my average is throughout the season. Maybe like 7?
Hasn't got a high ceiling, and that makes me think that maybe it should be more than double because you like the potential points that you want to get has to be more, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you wouldn't. I think with a double, you wouldn't play it in a double game week over the bench boost, the triple cap, or the free hit.
They got higher ceilings
because they're higher. Yeah. Maybe over a triple captain, actually. Tricky one.
Yeah, because that is. I mean, it hasn't been burnt by triple captain, so
yeah, good. Okay.
I shouldn't have ended that one. That probably was my least exciting one.
No, I'm excited by all of it, Josh. Very excited. My final one then is I call it the knee jerker.
Oh.
And your team becomes the team of the week from the previous game week. So the knee-jerker, because all these players did well last week, let's knee-jerk them in.
Yeah.
So you know what it's like. You click on team of the week and it's a bunch of randomers, isn't it?
Yeah.
Most of the time. But if you like the look of that bunch, you can free hit in the team of the week.
Yeah.
And I haven't done something... Yeah, I think it would have to be a free hit. So, as in, it would revert back again.
Temporary.
It's a temporary one-game week. Your team is the team of the week from the last week. So I think that could be quite tactical use. Like if you notice the team of the week have a load of double games that week, you could play it.
Or good fixtures back to back.
Or good fixtures, or they happen to be the big names. And value would be irrelevant. So if all the big names are in the team of the week, you can trigger it and have a team worth 150 or whatever.
Yeah.
But it is anecdotally, I'm thinking back, and you just get a bunch of random defenders that get the odd goal, don't you? Sometimes.
It's a nice roll of the dice.
But it's a roll of the dice, yeah, because you could just mess up. It could be a complete disaster because you've got a load of Burnley defenders that scored that week.
Yeah. I like the randomness of it because you're really like you cannot predict, and it really is just a case of the week that you just take a look and be like, okay, I'm just choosing to play it now. You end up playing it on a random week, not like
you can't plan for it. Almost.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
You also can't really predict how they'll do on the other side as well because it's a random concoction of players. You don't really know what their fixtures are going to be like, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So I like the randomness of it. Chaos.
Yeah, it's chaos. Brilliant. Bring more chaos in. Good. So those are our 6, Josh. Final question for you about chips that I had for you was: say FPL Towers are watching this and they love all these ideas, they bring them all in. That's a lot of chips. So do you think, out of the current chips, would you ditch any of them? Or would you be in favour of something that I've seen people suggest, which is at the start of the season, you have a selection of chips and you pick 3 from a smorgasbord of chips, a plate of chips. Would you be in favour of that?
I mean, yes.
Or should we have 9 chips for the whole season?
I like the idea of having anything that adds more like tactics. I like the idea of adding that complexity. So maybe not a smorgasbord of chips, but you have to pick 3 out of the 6 or something.
3 out of 6.
So like not a huge amount. So it doesn't get too crazy. Are you thinking full on literally in your mini league, everyone can have a completely different combination of chips?
Yeah, I can see both sides of the coin of the argument, because some purists hate the chips anyway because they think it actually, instead of adding tactics in, it adds more luck in. Because if you play your triple captain one week and the guy has a haul, you've had a mad stroke of luck there, and it weights it more towards luck. So they just prefer no chips, play normally. But I see what you're saying on the flip side. Tactical use of the chips would increase. I just think it's a decision you make at the start of the season could end up, you'd be unlucky in some ways if you kind of add more luck in, because if you don't pick the bench boost, say, and it just so happens that a double game week falls where a bench boost is brilliant and you haven't got one, you're like, I've got this stupid eggs in basket chip.
Yeah.
It's a weird one. So I don't know if I think it might take one step away from the core of the game, which is, right, which players are going to do the best here, which is the idea of the game.
It would make it a lot more individualistic, wouldn't it, as well? Because you could not follow a template as much anymore. Because
which could be a positive.
A lot of it is building towards certain game weeks that identified quite early in the season. Say, this is your triple captain week, whereas, not everyone would have a triple captain, say, for example. And so I get it. It's good that you're diversifying a little bit, everyone having their own different ways to get points and maybe picking different players at different times and going less template. But the danger is if you go too far that way, everyone's just playing their own game and no one's really crossing over.
And there'll always be that excuse if somebody wins it. It's because you had the bench boost and I didn't pick the start, so I would have beaten you if I didn't have the bench boost. And then, no one likes that. No one likes those people. My final thing on the chips, I would say, and I said it on the last one, was I do think they should give you, forget any new chips if they're not going to add any, but give you the chips before Jan and refresh them all in Jan. So you have to use them before the year end, and then you get 3 more. Because at the moment, the game is save them till game week 36 or whatever, and it's gone a bit stale.
I mean, when you raised that during our last vid, I like it because it gives you something to do in the first half of the season. I'm one of those like managers who just doesn't really use it, wants to try and save it for the second half when you know you're going to get those doubles or whatever, or blanks in like the 30s somewhere, early 30 game weeks. So it gives you something to play with in the first part of the season where it can be a bit barren sometimes.
I want to use the triple captain in a single game week
let
for
me
fun.
use it.
I want to be fun, but I can't be because math says I shouldn't be. Good. All right. Well, that was good.
Yeah, love it.
Let us know what you think. If you hated those ship ideas, tell us. If you've got a better one, let us know in the comments. Or if you loved them, please tell us. Because we like hearing praise.
Yeah, want to hear from you.
We do. All right. Cheers, Josh.
Cheers, Jack.
All right. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.